AJ Debonsa gave his introductory press conference today, and he impressed everybody there. Guys, I'm serious. This is an athlete and a person the Wizards needed in their building so bad. This is not your average 19-year-old.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This is AJ Dybantsa, and you're listening to the Locked On Wizards podcast.
Oh, yeah! You are locked on to the Washington Wizards. My name is Ben Strober, and covering the Washington Wizards alongside me, as always, is Abdullah Ayubi. Today's episode is brought to you by Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. We got the AJ Debonsa drop.
That's hype, Ben.
Can you believe it, dude? This gotta be your dream come true, man. You were clamoring. You were so adamant to get this guy here in DC, and now we got his voice on the podcast.
What an intro. I mean, Ben, and this is before his first game. This is before media day. Shout out to you, bro. That's clutch, crunch time moment, Strober, baby.
We had to get it done. I'll tell the story about it in just a second. On today's show, we get into AJ Debonsa's introductory press conference. I thought he absolutely impressed to a level that I did not expect from a 19-year-old kid. Want to get into why he understands what this process will be. Talked a little bit about his role playing with Trae Young. I also want to get into the need for a backup big and the rebounding aspect of all of that. We'll tackle all of that in this podcast. I want to start things off. A big shout out to Wizards PR that made that drop possible today. Our guy Matt Quinn really hooked me up there to make that happen at the end of the day. Very, very cool experience, AB. So we were out in the hallway, and I was like, can I just get this real quick for 5 seconds? Matt was like, yeah, we can do it. We made sure it happened. I shook AJ's hand, introduced myself to him. He had to bend like all the way down like this to talk to me, which, first of all, insane how big that dude is. Unbelievably respectable, down-to-earth person, first of all. He introduced himself to me, which I thought was very impressive, something I didn't expect. And here's something that actually stuck out to me about the interaction. I said, hey, I host the Locked On Wizards podcast. Just want to get you to do this little 5-second one-liner thing to say, this is AJ Debonsa. You're listening to the Locked On Wizards podcast. He was like, okay. And then he repeated back to me, so you want me to say exactly this, right? I was like, yeah, that. And then he did it. And then he made me play it back to him to listen to it, to make sure it sounded good and clear. And then he was like, all right, that good? I'm like, yeah, it's perfect. And then that was it. I mean, just to talk about a awesome individual. That was my first impression meeting him, and that's an incredible story, I think.
That's awesome, Ben. Will Dawkins mentioned you didn't draft AJ Debonsa just off the player itself. It's the person, the character, the way he carries himself, and how well-spoken he is, Ben. I mean, he went on media tour, going on every single podcast, and I understand that he has his dad on his side, but his ability to carry himself at such a young age, truly impressive, Ben. I mean, this is it's great. Everything, and we're going to get into it, everything that happened in today's introductory conference, I loved it. This kid is going to be special for years to come.
It's very easy, I feel like, to be won over at a press conference, and it happens quite often. But when I say I don't think AJ Debonsa is a normal 19-year-old rookie, I really, truly am impressed with how savvy and well-spoken the guy is, and he has a great understanding of the situation here. The fact that he understands the history of the organization insanely well, it's a testament of the research that he did of the Wizards, and even some of the other things where he kind of discussed his player comp that he saw to Len Bias and the story behind that he told today, and the story of how he got into basketball. There's a lot of things about what he said that check boxes of who he is as an individual, which matters a lot in this situation. We're going to get into why the basketball stuff is exactly what you need as well. But if you are coming to Washington, D.C. to be the first overall pick for the Washington Wizards, this is a fan base and an organization, quite frankly, not just the fans. The organization is desperate and starving for this type of individual, somebody that can be, like Michael Winger said, an ambassador of the organization, somebody with charisma, and somebody that can be a true leader. And that's a lot of the things that he talked about today. David Aldridge, who I was sitting next to in the press conference, asked him, when was the last time you were humbled? And he said the last time I was humbled was the game against Texas. We lost that game. And we were a higher seed. We were a 6 seed. Texas was an 11 seed. Lost that game. So I went back and I reflected on it, watched everything that I felt like I could have done better in that game. But the one thing that stuck out, he wasn't even just talking about the basketball stuff. He said, I went back and watched to see how I could have been a better leader. There's a lot of levels to this type of stuff. And if you're truly getting a number 1 overall pick player, a franchise cornerstone, they need to be a leader of men. And AJ Debonsa is 19 years old, and he's already giving the charismatic vibe that he's going to become a leader of this team, I think, very, very quick, very early on in his career.
Yeah, and that's a game, Ben, against Texas where he dropped 35 and 10, something around that. Talk about a guy who is resilient. And at BYU this past year, their second leading scorer, Richie Saunders, goes down with an injury. Who is the guy that's going to step up? It's a young vet, essentially, in Debonsa. And what he did was amazing to see, leading the nation in scoring. Chase Hughes from Monumental Sports asked him, Ben, filling seats, you always mentioned that. How far does that go back into your basketball career? And he mentioned in high school where they had to put yellow tape around his games because so many people would show up to his games. And this is a kid that's been ranked number 1 since the 7th grade and reclassed 8th grade. I mean, when it comes to the spotlight, he truly deserves it. And I think he's going to flourish in it. And today, just him choosing 4, Ben, 3 plus 1, he wore 3 his whole life, and then 1 plus 1 was the number 1 overall. But let me ask you, Ben, did you like number 4?
I think it's a really cool number. I personally like the number. I've had a lot of, cool experiences with the number 4. I actually wore it my sophomore year playing JV basketball.
Okay. You started the trend.
So I'll have to go dig up that picture and say that we're basically the same thing, right? No, I'm just kidding. But I think 4 is a good number. He mentioned it was new beginnings for him, the 3, and then obviously 1. I think it makes sense. I don't care that much about the number, as long as he wasn't wearing something egregious. I saw some people throwing around the idea he should be 33, and I was like, I don't know about that. We don't need the Kyle Kuzma number for AJ Debonsa. The whole experience down there at the Wharf today.
Bro, it looked packed, bro. It looked crazy.
Was very, very packed out, and everyone is screaming and following and swarming around AJ. Very cool experience. I'd say very well done by the Wizards, but it shows the volumes, the magnitude of having a number 1 overall pick and what that does to a sleeping giant fan base. I can't remember who it was in the podcast or who was talking to AJ. I think it was somebody that was talking to AJ. Maybe it was Bobby Marks that said, hey, that's a sleeping giant fan base, and they're ready to explode with a player of your caliber. And we'll get into all of the basketball stuff with AJ because he did get some basketball questions today. It was a lot of personal questions for Debonsa. I saw some people saying, I wish there was a little bit more basketball-oriented stuff, but I think when you're being introduced as a potential future face of the franchise, you're going to get a lot of the personality type of questions. So I think that was pretty understandable. One basketball-related question I asked him, it kind of was personal in a way, but it did involve the whole idea of what happens here over the next couple of years. I was able to ask him, I told him, you've embraced these challenges throughout your life. The Wizards organization for a long time has been futile. They've failed to sustain success. You're being brought here to be part of what is a puzzle now of this rebuild. What about this challenge intrigues you the most? And he said, a little bit of everything. I've been trying to embrace the challenge my whole life. Nothing comes easy, but I want to be a piece of the puzzle that, is part of this rebuild. Obviously, Wizards fans have been waiting for a long time. So, we're trying to make the playoffs, trying to make it far in the playoffs. Like Will said, he just said, you don't want to just make the playoffs. You want to go far in the playoffs. And I really, really felt that. So I just want to be I just want to be a piece of the puzzle. Obviously, probably need a couple more pieces, couple more practices, maybe a few more years. But, if they trust the process, we can go far. That's a really, really interesting quote. One, because he understands the history. I mean, he's not dumb. He knows the Wizards haven't been good for quite some time. He understands that. But to hear the volumes of the vision that the organization has put forward, saying, when we get to the playoffs with you, we want to be there for a long time. We want to go far in the playoffs because it's not good enough just to make the playoffs one time and be an exit in the first round. So there's true alignment, I feel like, in the vision of what the organization believes and what AJ wants to accomplish in his career.
He gets it. He knows that this team hasn't been very successful for the past 40 years, and there's a reason why they got the number 1 overall pick. And I love that he's already mentioning playoffs before he even steps on the court because he knows that this fan base is hungry to see postseason basketball. And if you look at it, Ben, on paper, when you have Trae Young at the 1, Keyshawn at the 2, AJ at the 3, Davis at the 4, Sarr at the 5, and you have Bub Carrington, Trey Johnson, Bilal, Will Riley, JC, Whitmore, Vucevic off the bench, that's a good squad that should make the play-in. And the big caveat is making sure everyone's healthy. I'm excited, Ben. I can't wait to see his role his rookie year. I really think, I mean, Summer League game, his first one against DP, that's going to be popcorn, bro.
On July 9th as well. That will be incredible. Free agency's coming up soon. We got a lot to get into. There were some questions about the fit with Trae Young and what all of that will look like. We want to tackle all of that stuff, some more of the basketball-related stuff from this press conference. That's next here on Locked On Wizards. There are more live events than ever we're seeing right now. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part usually isn't deciding what you want to attend. It's actually getting the tickets. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprise fees, buying tickets can sometimes feel harder than it needs to. That's why so many fans are turning to Game Time. The app is built to make buying tickets simple, with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy, and exclusive savings. Opportunities as well that help you get to the events you want without the usual hassle. My biggest pet peeve when buying tickets is when you think you found a great deal, you get all the way to the checkout, and suddenly the final price looks completely different. Game Time takes the guesswork out of that. You don't have to deal with other ticketing services that will basically lie to you about what the price is and what you actually pay at the end time when you get to the checkout. So I'm telling you, you should take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. AB, before I get into some of the quotes here about fit and everything basketball related with AJ Debonsa, what have you kind of learned about AJ and what the Wizards' vision might be for him going forward here now that we've had a couple of days to process and digest some of the information that we've gotten since the draft? What have you made of what the organization is aligning for him here?
I think the biggest thing that I understood so far is that he doesn't have to be a savior year one. It's not like last year with Cooper Flagg where you had some nice pieces in Najee Marshall. You signed D'Lo to play that point guard when Flagg couldn't play point guard. You had AD for half the year, but after that it was like, Cooper, just do your thing. Here in DC, you have year 3 of Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, year 2 of Trey Johnson, Will Riley. You don't have to go out there and carry this team every single game. It's making sure that you play the right position and be able to play off ball. We just gave Trae Young a 4-year, $212 million contract. Find your role, and you'll learn from it. I want to see an average 20 points per game. Don't get me wrong, but if he doesn't average 20 points per game, it's not the end of the world in his rookie year. You got to give the kid time. 19 years old. I think they're emphasizing that you're in a place where you should be really comfortable. Even despite you're the number 1 overall pick and there's these high expectations, there's also expectations to making sure that you develop into a player 4 to 5 years when you reach your peak. And that's one thing that I've understood from the organization. And I think overall, Ben, you're just happy. You've been superstar deprived for so long. Mm-hmm. The energy that has been shifted in the nation's capital when it comes to basketball is truly. I have friends, Ben, that are actually tuned in about the Wizards. They weren't tuned in the past 4 to 5 years, and rightfully so. You got Asia, you have to be tuned in.
Right. That's the effect of a number 1 overall pick. I've gotten a lot of texts from different people as well, a lot of people who have started tapping in to different content related to the Washington Wizards now. That's what happens when you have a first overall pick. And I will say that the actions are always going to speak louder than the words, and we don't have the ability to see what the actions are, but we will see at the end of the day. This wasn't in his intro today, but just seeing some of the other footage and stuff, and then what Dawkins said the night where they drafted him and his media availability. One thing that sticks out is the developmental track, I would say, for AJ Debonsa. And you know, all these conversations that we've had about, it's Trae Young and AJ, they can't share the floor together, they both need the ball too much. But there's a level of understanding from, I think, AJ right now in the organization, as you said, putting him in a good position to succeed early on, and that's growing as a basketball player. They understand that he can get downhill, he can score, he can create his own shot, get to his midi, work out of the high post or the low post. This guy can do a lot of different things well, But when you are a rookie in this league that's trying to find your footing, you can do all that stuff. You can improve on all of those things, I think. But there's really no time, like early on in your career, to iron out some of your deficiencies as well. And I think if we're going to find out what Debonsa's capabilities are playing off the ball, it's going to be what we see here in his rookie season. He's talked about it. Dawkins has talked about it. And as Damo said on the podcast, this is the best point I think anyone has made about the whole thing. Guys, he's a basketball player. You have to play the game of basketball. In order to do so, you have to be able to do different things. You have to be coachable. You have to be able to operate in an offense where maybe the ball is not in your hands as much. If you're truly about the team and about winning, like Debonsa says he is, and building your basketball repertoire in a way that will make him become the star that he will eventually be at some point for this team, it's by doing some of these other ancillary things early on in his career. So not only do I think this fit with Trae Young and the hubbub that was made about it was a little bit of it was just something that wasn't needed to be much of a big deal, in my opinion, and some people turn that conversation into a bigger deal than it needed to be. But I truly think there's a real scenario here and a likelihood that when he's playing off the ball and getting some of these opportunities to do other things, it's going to make his other skill sets shine even more when he does have the ball in his hands more. Because if you're developing your shot from the outside, you become a little bit more reliable on a catch-and-shoot opportunity. If defenders have to respect you on your closeout, that's going to open up the driving lanes. If you are commanding multiple people to either put a foot in the paint and kind of just be in the help side a little bit, that's where you're going to see some of the playmaking stuff from Debonsa, which I thought was actually very, very good, very underrated in his freshman season at BYU. There's a lot of great things that can happen for AJ in his rookie season, and I'm glad that we're starting to see a vision of what it looks like. And I think he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot still. Like, they keep talking about him as a guard, and I think there's life and there's real purpose behind the organization saying they kind of view him as a guard. He might be playing as a 2 in the backcourt with Trae Young. I think it's a possibility.
Man, that would be something. I think also one thing that I noticed in the conference was his emphasis on defense, be good defensively as a player, picking up 94 feet. That's something that Will Dawkins and the scouting team emphasized to him. Wasn't the best defender at BYU, but he was given a lot on his plate. I think the potential is there, Ben, just off the size and the athleticism. I mean, this is a guy who had a 42-inch vert at the combine, just blew every test off the charts, and he doesn't have to be an elite defender because you have Keyshawn, Bilal, Alex Sarr, an elite rim protector. AD, when healthy, is really elite defensively. This kid's going to be guarding maybe the third or the second or fourth option on the opposing team. So I'm not worried about that. What he offers you offensively is what you really have to look at. And defense, hopefully, the team in general, I think this past year, Ben, the team gave up 125 a game. You have to reduce that by at least 10 to 15 points, I'm assuming. And I think a big part of that is playing complementary basketball, because I'm assuming that this team is going to be top 10 in a lot of offensive categories.
I want to talk about some of this lineup stuff, and I have some theories, AB, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So if Debonsa is actually going to play guard, or so to speak, we know there's positional flexibility and everything's kind of positionless in what the Wizards are doing, but let's say in this hypothetical scenario, AJ Debonsa starts at the 2. They actually list him as the starting shooting guard. If you are going to figure out what you're doing defensively at the 3, how do you go point of attack defense is what I'm wondering. And I was having a conversation with our guy Shub at the district debut party thing today, and we were kind of weighing the option. Can Keyshawn George play as a point of attack defender, or do you have to go Bilal in the situation, or is it going to be matchup dependent? That was a point that Shub actually brought up to me as well, and I think it's fascinating because AJ, I don't think, is going to be a point-of-attack defender. We understand that. Trae Young is obviously not a point-of-attack defender. The question is, can Keyshawn George actually guard at the point of attack? I don't know if he's quick enough to do so. That was one of his weaknesses, I'd say, defensively, was matching up on some of the quicker guys on the perimeter. He'd get into foul trouble early in the game. Maybe it's something he can improve upon. But if Bilal is your only option, then he's going to have to find a way to be reliable with his three-point shot. If Bilal can knock down open threes from the corner, he's going to start for this team, and I think he's going to play a ton of very meaningful minutes because I think they're going to need him as the point-of-attack defender.
It's just tough for me, Ben, to bench Keyshawn after what I saw last year, that jump that he took. I
Right.
really want to see him in the starting lineup. But like you said, if Bilal takes that jump, and he needs to, year 4, offensively, that jump shot needs to be better, man, I wouldn't mind him at the 2.
It's such a weird, interesting dilemma and problem, I guess. Like, it's a good problem to have on your hands because you have a lot of good players that need to play. And you go, well, if AD doesn't play tonight, could Keyshawn play the 4, or Bilal play the 4? But then you go back into this interesting paradox where you have just one big out there who's not a particularly great rebounder, and Alex Sarr. Who's getting the rebounds for this team? I got to talk about free agency and what the Wizards will do when it comes to rebounding. So I think that's still a hole on this team, even after they drafted Felix Okpara yesterday. Let's get into free agency and how the Wizards could address this hole next on Locked On Wizards. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent, it's about having everyone working toward the same goal, and that's true in sports just as it is in business. One thing that really stands out to me about the Wizards is how everybody was pulling in the same direction with this entire rebuild. It wasn't just the players, it wasn't just a coach, it was the entire organization, even all the way up to the top with ownership. That's what made rebuilding successful to this point and getting the number 1 overall pick. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Missed calls and slow follow-ups can cost businesses more than they realize. Every unanswered call, forgotten text, or delayed response could mean a missed opportunity, a lost customer, or revenue left on the table. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the business communication system built so you never miss a call. Quo brings your team's calls, texts, and customer conversations together in one place, helping businesses stay organized, responsive, and connected. Quo simplifies communication for an entire team. Instead of juggling multiple phones, inboxes, and message threads, everybody stays on the same page and focuses on serving the customers. As a customer myself, there's nothing worse than reaching out and feeling like your message just appeared into a void. Businesses that respond quickly stand out, and Quo helps make that possible by keeping every conversation visible and organized. Money is on the line, so always say hello with Quo. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That's quo.com/lockedonnba. AB, free agency is coming up in a hurry, and everything is just creeping up on us right now. And real quick, one thing that's creeped up on us, I want to plug this real quick, is our Locked On Wizards live show on Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. at Lido Pizza in College Park. Had more people come up to me today at the district debut and said they were going to pop out.
Oh, yeah.
So if you are free on Saturday, come celebrate with us. Celebrate AJ Debonsa, Felix Okpara, and this new era of Wizards basketball. I promise it's going to be a blast. Everybody's got to come out to it. I want to get into this rebounding stuff real quick, though, AB, because it's still a glaring weakness for this Wizards team right now. And Okpara, who they drafted last night, or traded for technically in the second round of the draft from Orlando at 46, he doesn't give you a ton in the rebounding department. We understand that. He brings you a little bit of switchability on the outside, maybe some rim protection as well, but he's very much a developmental piece. If the Wizards are going to be more competitive next year, they need to be solid on the glass. And I think they're going to have to use that non-mid-level exception, $15 million, to find the answer when it comes to rebounding.
So I agree. I think Okpara is going to take some time. I know Mitchell Robinson, you were high on them, but the Knicks just won a championship, so I'm assuming they're going to bring him back. Marvin
Apparently
Bagley.
They're not, though.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
I've seen that. It's not going to be easy, but I don't know if the Wizards are going to be able to afford him. So I think he's going to want to be in a situation where he's going to start, is the thing. We need an option that is comfortable coming off the bench and playing super meaningful minutes for this team.
I saw someone mention Isaiah Hartenstein in the comment section, but he's not a free agent, right? You have to trade for him?
So I think he has a club option, and I'm not sure if OKC has picked it up or not. I'd have to double check on that. The other option is, do we check in from OKC on Thomas Sorber?
I heard that was a possibility when trading for the 12th pick that they have, but are they willing to let him go?
I feel like no. He's a really good prospect, and if anybody doesn't remember, he was taken 15th overall last year by the OKC Thunder, a local product actually out of Georgetown University.
Hoyas, baby.
Good rebounder, and I think he could serve as that 4 next to Alex Sarr for years to come if the team made a move to go get him. I don't know if the Wizards have the assets necessary or what the asking price would be for it, but trading for players and pieces now and moving up in the draft was ultimately really expensive. And I think we heard it from one of the analysts on ESPN at the start of the second round of the draft saying, yeah, the asking price because of these lottery reforms, draft picks are such a premium now that people are asking for a ton of picks to move up in these drafts. And that's ultimately why it was kind of quiet on a ton of fronts moving up in the first round. But they need rebounding on this team. They seriously need a fortified rebounder. Can they get Marvin Bagley back on this team?
I think you're banking on that, Ben. Part 3, greatest trilogy of all time if it happens.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready to welcome Marvin Bagley back with open arms. Did you see? I saw a jersey announcement for Felix Akpara saying he was going to wear 35, and then quickly I saw another one saying that he was wearing 34.
Maybe that means something.
Because Bagley wore 35.
So you would have to trade for him, right?
Bagley's a free agent.
Oh, he's a free agent. Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, he posted on his Instagram story, Bub, JC, and him talking about brothers. So bring him back with open. Bro, Ben, if you get Bagley back, I'm satisfied with the backup big man role.
I think I would be too. I loved the minutes that Bagley provided last year. And I'll pull up his official stats, but just in terms of activity and what he actually provided for them, crashing the offensive glass, was willing as a defender, and he gave them offense on a couple of good occasions where Sarr was out and he got opportunities to start games or they needed a little bit more from him offensively. I thought he was really, really solid. So 10.5 points, 6.1 total rebounds last year, which isn't like a super high mark by any means, but just from the eye test, watching the guy play in the minutes that he did, I thought he was meaningful and willing as a rebounder. I thought he hustled, which is something you can't really teach. And a lot of people I've seen that have analyzed the film of Felix Akpara mention his motor. They think that his defensive motor is incredible, the way he flies up and down the floor and willingly guards out on the perimeter as well is something that's interesting to me. But if they can get Bagley back on this team or another option to be the backup big, I think you're looking at really solid depth across the board because the front court is really the only area I would say they don't have any depth at this point. You have a mess of it when it comes to the guards and the wings. If you can get it fortified a little bit in the front court, that's going to help them out a ton.
Are you confident, Ben, in Julian Reese playing a good amount of minutes early on of the season?
I think he's a two-way player. I think he'll be playing games with the go-go, but I don't think he's getting significant minutes in the NBA. That's probably not in the cards. He was brought in very late, and I love Julian Reese as much as anybody. He's undersized. I know he got a ton of rebounds in all of those games. He had 20 in a game against the Jazz, but the Jazz also didn't have anyone over 6'9" out there as well. So there was a little bit of context behind that. But no, Reese is a good rebounder. He gets after it, and I understand that. But I think the only way he's playing significant minutes for the Wizards next year is if there's a lot of injuries, which would not be ideal.
What is the possibility, Ben, of this happening? When Porzingis got traded to Washington, before that he was known for being injury-prone, not that good, can't stay healthy, whatnot. And he had his best year of his career, essentially. Is it possible that AD could follow that track, or am I just being delusional?
I don't think it's delusional to wonder if it's possible that he can play like a career type of, or not a career year in terms of games played because AD had better health early on in his career. But it is interesting that Kristaps Porzingis stayed the healthiest he ever did when he was in DC, and they rewarded him for his efforts. They got him out of there in that summer when Will Dawkins and Winger came over here. They were able to move him like he wanted to the entire time. Then he ends up winning a championship in Boston. So AD, if you do want to win a championship and that championship is elsewhere because the Wizards don't want to extend you, then the blueprint is there. If you play games and you help this Wizards team win, you provide some activity on the glass, get your stocks, get your 20 and 10 every single night, help be a veteran presence for this team, the Wizards can make your dreams come true. You can go get a championship that's not in the bubble, or at least get a contending championship offer from a team. I think that is a realistic possibility with how this AD thing goes down. I know everyone was going crazy over Dawkins going on ESPN last night saying, we'll have those conversations about extension when we can in August. What else was he supposed to say? Is he supposed to say, we're not going to extend him? He's going to be here till the trade deadline, or he's not in our plans. I don't know what.
What do you expect, people?
I don't know what they wanted him to say, but his answer to me was very much, I don't really want to be talking about this right now. Here's my answer. We'll talk about it another day. That was basically what he said.
I just want to see him play out there, bet alongside Sar. That's the duo that I'm most excited about. As much as I love AJ, and you give Trae a big contract, Sar and Davis is going to be a fun duo to watch if they're on the court together.
I can't wait for it. Opening night, if you have Sar and Davis, Dybantsa and Trae Young at home, probably a primetime game.
Everyone's 6'8 plus outside of Trae, Ben.
The Wizards had no primetime games last year. They had like 2 on Peacock and 1 on Prime.
One of the games was a John Wall night, right? It was against Milwaukee.
That was on Prime.
Yeah.
They had no real primetime games that people could just turn on ESPN or whatever, or TNT, and watch the game. They did not have that. They're going to have a bunch of those next year, which is ridiculous to think about. Real
quick, LaMelo got traded, Ben. Do you think that helps or hurts the Hornets?
It's weird because he's a great offensive engine, but he's also I'm going to shoot you in or out of this game type of dude. Maybe Charlotte just decided they felt like they can't win with him. I don't know. Because they've had, he's talented. He's really good. And this year was the first year they finally kind of got over the hump as an organization a bit. But then LaMelo was not great in the playoffs. I know he had the game winner against Miami, but didn't he also hurt Adebayo? He had a really dirty trip on him and injured him. So that wasn't good. I don't know, maybe Charlotte was just fed up with him because he's a character. He's not AJ Debonsa. He's not like a super high character guy from what I've heard, what I've seen. I don't know him personally, so I won't assassinate his character too much here, but I don't think he's cut from the same cloth as some of these guys that are truly serious at everything.
I saw a tweet saying that the streets of Charlotte are safe because LaMelo Ball is no longer driving in that vicinity.
And I saw one saying he got to Minnesota in 30 minutes via car.
That's hilarious, bro. Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball, Ben, I think that's either going to be really good or really bad.
They'll be very fun to watch. That's the crazy.
I mean, Minnesota had to do it, Ben, because, again, you're losing to San Antonio or OKC every year.
I just wonder, is Ant gone after a couple of years? Is this their last effort?
If they don't make it to the finals within these next couple of years, he has to want out, Ben.
Yeah, I think Ant's got 2 more years probably. I'd have to look at the details of his contract, but he might not be that long for Minnesota. That'll be kind of crazy when he eventually is in trade conversations or free agency, whatever happens at that point, because when that does happen, he's only going to be 27 or something, or 28. So he's going to have some pretty productive basketball left to be played. So who knows where that will end up being.
Maybe that's a guy the Wizards might trade for down the line. I'm being delusional a little bit, but you never know.
I mean, never thought. I saw your tweet today saying, imagine showing me this 6 months ago where their starting lineup would be Trae Young, Anthony Davis, and AJ.
Crazy, Ben.
A lot can change. Everything is very unpredictable. It's hard to look back and take it all in sometimes, but when we started doing the podcast, especially last summer when we're doing episodes talking about the core of players that are here right now, they just traded for Cam Whitmore. We're hoping for an Alex Sarr breakout. Maybe Keyshawn George is going to have a good year. Now all of a sudden Trae Young is on this team and Anthony Davis, and they just picked a player first overall. A lot changed very quick, AB.
Man, remember we did a video, Ben, of using AI to predict the next 5 years? I'll tell you one thing, AI could not predict what was going to happen in a year.
No, I think the AI predicted Trey Johnson to be first team All-NBA MVP candidate.
They didn't realize the tanking aspect of it.
No, it kind of just it didn't really account for what the plan was for the Wizards, I guess. But, man, it's funny. Today was a one of those days I also feel like you can look back on when AJ was introduced to the media, because Chase Hughes actually came on the Beltway Blitz today for Grant Danny, and he said AJ charmed the media at this press conference way more than he'd ever seen for a rookie press conference. He called it one of the better ones he's ever seen, and Chase has covered pretty much every big star in this town. Chase has covered Ovechkin, covered Bryce Harper when he was here, covered John Wall when he was here, all of those star players, and he said AJ's level of charisma and like what he was actually able to articulate with his thoughts was insanely impressive. So that kind of just speaks volumes about the point I've tried to make this whole episode. This is not your average rookie.
We got a superstar, baby. Let's go.
Looks like it. We just got to see it on the floor now. This is crazy. That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Wizards. I'm going to try to get some good guests here on the pod over the next couple days or so. Get
maybe AJ
on
sometime
AJ.
In the future, Ben.
Hey, I was putting in some questions today. I was asking around about the potential of getting some good stuff to happen on this pod very soon. So
yes, sir.
If we have any news about that, we'll make that happen. Lido Pizza Sunday in College Park, Maryland. I'll put it on the social media again. Keep on promoting it. If you haven't made a decision, if you're in town, you got to come check us out.
Just come, guys, please. I want to meet every single one of you guys and talk to you about your fandom and eat some pizza.
Let's do it, man.
According to Ben, it's great pizza, so we'll see.
It's good stuff. I think you're gonna enjoy it. Oh, just one last time, AB. I got to do this.
This is AJ Debonsa, and you're listening to the Locked On Wizards podcast.
DC family, that's Abdullah Ayubi. I'm Ben Strober. We'll talk to you later.